Tonight is not for the faint of heart. This is the moment when the earth trembles, when ancient whispers stir within us, urging us to rise. We stand at the threshold of everything our ancestors dreamed of, but never had the courage to claim. Power pulses like a drum in the chest of every soul who knows they were born to break free from chains and defy the falsehoods. There is a fire in you, an unstoppable force ready to surge and show the world that you will not be confined. And we need you. We need your vision, your bravery, your roar. So if you feel this energy surging through your heart, if you're ready to fight for your own awakening, step forward now. Join those who refuse to be silenced, who will not bow to old curses or negativity. Like, subscribe, and comment 77 feet to let the universe know you are ready for the transformation that is about to unfold. Chapter 1. A door you once feared is about to open, chosen ones. The resistance you faced is real. It wasn't just bad luck or random challenges. It came from the watchers, energies, and forces that have shadowed your lineage for ages, determined to keep you trapped in old patterns. You know what it's like to feel watched, even when everything seems calm. That sense of being observed during your darkest moments is no mere imagination. These watchers thrive on illusions, whispering that you're unworthy or that your destiny is a fantasy. Look back at the many times you almost believed those voices and turned away from your future. But something inside you would never have allowed that door to shut completely, would it? This is the moment when that old creaking door finally swings wide. You feel it in your spirit. God has orchestrated events so tangible that your pulse quickens just thinking about them. Perhaps you've noticed small signs, moments of clarity when the negativity around you started to crumble. Maybe you faced a meltdown that felt devastating but turned into a spark of renewal. Either way, the illusions can no longer hold, and the watcher's grip is loosening. You've pushed back against their presence with your unwavering decision to heal, forgive, and believe in a promise on your life that is far greater than any shadow. It's not a hazy, maybe someday kind of promise. You can practically see it. The circumstances surrounding you may look the same from the outside, but somewhere deep inside your chest, an ember has ignited. It's filling you with a kind of synergy that only grows stronger when you step out in faith. This synergy is not merely emotional hype, it's divine reality, a force that acts like a magnet for the right circumstances, people, and resources. As the illusions fade, everything hidden, both good and bad, gets exposed. Yet the watchers lose their footing when they realize you aren't succumbing to their silent intimidation. Sometimes you may wonder if you're imagining it all. In those moments, remember that destiny is not a daydream. When the meltdown comes, it's actually the final test to see if you'll cling to the same patterns or choose the new path. Each time you refuse to collapse under the weight of negativity, you dethrone it. Every time you hold on to the promise burning in your heart, the watchers tremble because they sense your unstoppable nature. You are here to do more than tiptoe around your own power. You are here to fling that door wide open and let the light rush in. And as that door opens, do not fear what stands on the other side. God has prepared you. The illusions will try to claw their way back, but you will stand firm, eyes forward, shoulders back, heart ablaze. The synergy humming in your spirit will guide you step by step. You will not fail. The watchers will be forced to see you walk freely into the territory once barred to your entire family line. And as you cross that threshold, you confirm one unshakable truth. You are indeed among the chosen. Chapter 2. The Battle for Your Name. Your name, spoken or written, carries weight that transcends time. Generations before you were labeled, dismissed, or taken for granted. There were curses woven into your family identity, words that echoed repeatedly until they solidified into the very bones of your history. These curses weren't always dramatic incantations shouted under the moonlight. They were the quiet, destructive beliefs that got passed from one parent to the next. You know them well because, at some point, they tried to become your truth too. But you felt the shift, didn't you? Maybe it was in a moment of solitude, or in the presence of God, or perhaps after watching everything collapse around you. Suddenly, the meltdown revealed hidden corridors in your heart, places where fear had entrenched itself under the guise of normalcy. It hit you like a lightning bolt. This cannot be all there is. That realization was the invitation to battle. Not a trivial scuffle, but an all-out war for your name, your identity, and your lineage. Once you answered that call, the illusions intensified. You might have even doubted your own sanity because the negativity seemed relentless. The Watchers hovered, determined to keep your name bound to the same old patterns, the same old generational pitfalls. Yet in that swirling chaos, God placed a spark inside you, a vow that he would not go out like those who came before you. While your ancestors did what they could with what they had, you were born with an extra measure of strength and awareness, an inheritance of faith that refused to be smothered by curses. So you fought. You might have fought quietly at first, through prayer, tears, self-reflection, or raw desperation. You recognized that every discouraging voice was a piece of that old script. Every time you said no more, you tore a page out of that script and wrote a new line. I am free. And with every new line you wrote, synergy built in your spirit. You felt your posture changing, from crouched in self-doubt to standing tall in defiance of everything that once weighed you down. During this battle for your name, you likely discovered you aren't alone. You encountered others, fellow chosen ones, who were also throwing off invisible shackles. Some came into your life as mentors who pointed you back to your own strength. Others arrived as friends or even strangers who confirmed, without words, that you were not imagining these burdens. You recognized them by the fire in their eyes that had seen illusions crumble and watchers flee. Now that you've walked this far, let it be clear, there's no returning to who you once were. Whenever doubt tries to creep in, remind yourself of the meltdown that became your turning point. That moment was not your defeat, it was your refining. In that holy chaos, the labels tied to your family line began dissolving in front of your eyes. You realized something profound. Your true name was never the sum of those curses. Your true name was chosen from the beginning, eternally linked to light, not darkness. Keep battling, chosen ones. The Watchers will not stop until they see there's no opening left for them to exploit. But the synergy around you now is a living testament that your name is spoken in heaven, sealed by God himself. That name bears no curse. Stand firm in it. Accept no lesser identity, no matter how familiar it may feel, because once you cling to the truth of who you are, the illusions have no choice but to bow. The old script is burning away, and your new story is blazing into reality. Chapter 3. When negativity is dethroned. Up until recently, negativity sat like a cold monarch in the center of your life, calling the shots to doubt and fear. Many people failed to notice it because negativity often disguises itself as so-called realism. But you, chosen ones, saw the difference. You felt in your bones that much of what you labeled as being realistic was actually a silent invitation for despair to linger. Every time you wanted to dream bigger, negativity told you it was foolish. Every time you planned to act in faith, negativity pinned you down with reasons to stay small. But negativity is losing its throne. The meltdown moments that nearly crushed you have instead refashioned your spirit into a warrior's vessel. It was in the quiet wreckage, when the Watchers gleefully waited for you to wave the white flag, that God whispered truth into your depths. That whisper was unexpected but potent, like a key turning inside an ancient lock. And the moment you let that whisper guide you, negativity started slipping from its seat of power. This dethroning isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as you refusing to speak ill of yourself or your future. Other times it's monumental, like walking away from relationships where illusions thrived. The synergy that follows each brave choice is not just a feeling. It's a tangible, supernatural force. You see signs line up, random opportunities, divine connections, doors opening that were previously sealed shut. As negativity tries to claw its way back to control, these signs remind you that its dominion has ended. When negativity realized you wouldn't break, it changed tactics. It tried to lure you with cynicism or complacency, but cynicism only thrives when hope is absent. And in you, hope is roaring like a lion set free. Complacency tries to tell you that you've done enough for one lifetime, that you should be satisfied with a fraction of the victory you've seen, that life is what it is. a thinly veiled attempt to keep you from claiming the full inheritance you're meant to walk in. Whether it's spiritual gifts, creative pursuits, or simply the peace that surpasses all logic, everything is within your reach once negativity is toppled. As negativity's role collapses, you may sense an unfamiliar lightness. This lightness isn't denial of real challenges. It's a recognition that your soul is no longer shackled. Faith begins to feel like the most natural response when watchers try to reassert their presence, to random waves of doubt or sudden surges of fear. Your spirit remains anchored. The illusions can't mimic that kind of stability. They might flash the old patterns in front of you, hoping you'll step back, but you recognize them instantly. The meltdown taught you the difference between real and fake, temporary and eternal. Now, dethroning negativity doesn't mean you won't have struggles. Battles still happen, but it means that negativity's voice no longer carries royal authority. You've transferred your allegiance to truth, to the unstoppable promise swirling within your heart. Each time you stand your ground in that truth, you reinforce negativity's defeat. Chosen ones, let this be a new norm, a life where negativity holds no crown, illusions bear no weight, and watchers are forced to acknowledge your spiritual rank. The synergy you feel is real, a current of divine power that moves you closer to your purpose. It's happening right now, not months from now. You are stepping into a territory that generations before you were too weary or too wounded to claim. In that territory, negativity's false monarchy has no place, and so you march on, dethroning it day by day, breath by breath, forging a legacy of freedom that won't be undone. Chapter 4. The Meltdown That Revealed Your Strength. Let's revisit that one pivotal meltdown, the one that left you feeling utterly undone. Your mind spiraled, your heart pounded, and everything you believed in seemed to fall apart. It was as though illusions and watchers banded together for a final assault, extinguishing any hope you had left. Gazing at the scattered pieces of your life, you wondered how you could ever rebuild. Yet what if that meltdown wasn't a curse, but a divine reset? When God intervenes, sometimes the old must collapse so you can glimpse the real blueprint you need. While watchers gloated, convinced they'd won, you discovered a hidden well of strength. Each tear watered a seed of resilience buried deep within. As it sprouted, synergy awakened, a force uniting your spirit, mind, and body into a powerful warrior. You might have felt shame or guilt, thinking you'd failed those around you. But that moment was your forging, like a blacksmith's fire shaping you into a new creation. Illusions lost their grip because you saw how flimsy they truly were. Watchers, once so menacing, appeared smaller. They needed your self-doubt to thrive. Deprived of your consent, they had no power. Recognize this meltdown for what it was, a beginning, not an end. It stripped away programming that told you to hide, stay silent, and accept limitations. Laid bare, you realized the divine wasn't outside but within, fueling every step. This epiphany shifted how you face challenges. Life may not have become simple overnight, but illusions lost the leverage they once held. You carried a quiet assurance. I've overcome worse. I can survive this too. Over time, watchers faded, baffled that their old tricks no longer triggered dread. Now you stand with the meltdown behind you, synergy pulsing through your soul. Notice how each hard-earned lesson aligns. Feel curses unraveling, negativity dethroned, and God weaving every thread into a grand tapestry. A strand from your meltdown might spark hope in a stranger or mend a relationship at home. That meltdown, once your darkest hour, was truly a reintroduction to your own power. It was an invitation to deeper partnership with the divine, urging you onward. So don't curse that moment. Bless it. It revealed the warrior you didn't know you had within. Chapter 5. Collision with Illusions. For ages, illusions lived quietly in your mind, disguised as truths. They weren't just negative thoughts or limiting beliefs. They were deceptions planted by watchers hoping you'd cultivate them into your reality. Illusions thrive on secrecy, fueling themselves when you're too preoccupied or wounded to question the voice saying you can't yet. Illusions dread direct confrontation. The moment you slam into them head-on, they fracture. That clash is unfolding now. Each day you ask, Is this really true about old statements once defining you? You notice you're not condemned to certain family patterns, and spiritual breakthroughs aren't just wishful thinking. You've witnessed synergy surge, watched negativity topple, and sensed watchers scurry in confusion. This collision can feel turbulent. Illusions won't vanish softly. They'll fight back, igniting waves of self-doubt or stirring old wounds. It may resemble a storm inside you, an internal upheaval, but storms purge stale energy, clearing space for new growth. If illusions unleash a final onslaught, it's because they sense their looming defeat. Your weapon is truth, solid and unyielding. It's not a flimsy daydream, but a living force. Watchers that loomed large now pale beside your divine authority. The meltdown you endured birthed a holy stubbornness, a refusal to let illusions define you. This stubbornness is both shield and battle cry. When illusions surge, signs and coincidences too precise to dismiss confirm you're on the right track. Each time you dismantle an illusion, a vacuum forms that truth rushes to fill. It's as though unseen hands orchestrate your environment to align with your fresh clarity. Doors you never noticed swing wide. Unexpected voices affirm your path. This is synergy in motion, a divine timing converging with a willing spirit. You might grieve the loss of illusions, having carried them for so long they felt like part of you. But they were never truly yours. They were parasites living off lies. If you must mourn, then do, but don't cling to illusions for false comfort. Their collapse frees you to embody your authentic self. So the collision endures, revealing each new layer of unshakable truth. You rise stronger. Certain illusions hold no claim on you. This liberation is non-negotiable. You belong to a lineage shattering falsehoods. Let the illusions crack. Stay rooted in your rightful power, watching watchers concede they have no foothold. In this collision, you emerge triumphant, carrying the torch of truth your ancestors once glimpsed from afar. Chapter 6. Rising above the watchers. Watchers come in many forms. People who constantly doubt you, circumstances that block your progress, or subtle energies feeding on your uncertainty. Their chief goal is to keep you from realizing the fullness of your identity. Each time you muster courage, watchers tighten their grip, maybe through a stinging comment from someone you trust or a sudden wave of fatigue that seems so logical. Look at you now, though. You're rising in ways watchers can't match. When you dethrone negativity, illusions lost their punch. Having survived your meltdown, you took away watchers' biggest weapon, fear. Now they linger, probing for any crack left in your armor. They poke old wounds, stir up anxiety, hoping you retreat. Yet you sense a living stream of divine power pulsing through your decisions and relationships. You don't frighten so easily anymore. Seeing this, watchers shift from confrontation to observation, waiting on the edges for weakness. But God flips their scrutiny into proof of your breakthrough. They witness your growing boldness, forced to admit that no curse or trauma can undo the transformation within you. It's as though you stepped into higher air they can't breathe in. Practical terms, rising means you're done with mere survival. You're stepping into abundance, trusting God's hand to guide bigger leaps of faith. Maybe you're tackling projects that once felt impossible or forming alliances you never thought you could. As you rise, whenever negativity tries sneaking back, you immediately speak truth. Watchers hope you revert to old patterns, but instead, they hear you declare, "I am free." Sometimes you catch them off guard, with kindness where bitterness would have been expected. Watchers thrive on conflict, so when you choose forgiveness, they lose their power source. Each act of love lifts you beyond their reach. That is true spiritual warfare, living so aligned with divine reality that watchers can only stand and watch. There will be days when they hover near, seeking to provoke or tempt you, but watchers can't manipulate a mind anchored in truth. If the meltdown was your forging, this phase is your crowning. It's where you embrace your birthright. God placed you here to shine, not to shrink. Walk forward with confidence, not because you're flawless, but because you are embraced by a purpose that the watchers could never prevent. You rise, chosen ones, leaving them behind to watch a victory they cannot stop. Chapter 7. Synergy Unleashed. At last we arrive at synergy, the unstoppable flow of divine alignment that moves through your life. Once you chose faith over fear, truth over illusion, and courage over compliance, you caught glimpses of it. Those moments when you acted despite shaky legs, only to land on solid ground you couldn't see. Now, synergy is no fleeting spark. It's the very air you breathe. This is not a fantasy. It's a real supernatural force guiding you to heights your lineage never knew. Synergy emerges from the bond between you and God, woven into the everyday. You see it in resources arriving precisely when needed, in spontaneous conversations that answer your unspoken questions, and in watchers fading away as soon as you reclaim your power. It's the harmony of each step falling perfectly in line with divine timing, making miracles feel like everyday occurrences. And yet they remain miracles nonetheless. As synergy grows, you realize you're not alone on this path. Other chosen ones are rising too, breaking down illusions and dissolving negativity in their own lives. Your paths intersect and synergy amplifies. One spark and you meet countless others, creating a blazing fire that the watchers cannot extinguish. An unmistakable sign that old curses are broken. This synergy also heals the rifts within you and your bloodline. Where resentment once lingered, you find forgiveness. Where lack once ruled, abundance appears. Where emotional wounds felt permanent, healing rises higher. It's not just prophecy, it's happening now, weaving you, God, and an entire wave of awakened souls into a living tapestry beyond the reach of illusions. Will synergy last forever? That depends on your choice to nurture it. Synergy is not passive, it requires daily vigilance, guarding your heart against illusions, overthrowing negativity, and recognizing the watcher's tricks. Every act of integrity and faith fuels the flames of synergy. It's a dance that has no final act because your story is still unfolding, and it will keep evolving. You'll discover uncharted parts of yourself and the world, driven by unstoppable momentum. Some days will challenge you, but the meltdown showed that illusions cannot defeat a determined soul. You trust God's presence more than the whispers of doubt. You are part of a revolution of awakened hearts chosen by destiny. So let synergy flood your being. Let the watchers stare, confused by your refusal to bend. Let negativity remain banished from its false throne. Each day you breathe, you rewrite your bloodline's fate. This journey doesn't stop here. Synergy only grows. You are already a part of it, a living promise, a rising wave, an unstoppable force